Welcome guests, music lovers, and friends to the opening concert of the third season of the California Young Artists Symphony. I'm Alexander Zeitlin, the artistic director, and it's my pleasure to introduce you all to this evening's program. Our program tonight is designed around the music of the organ. Both of our composers, Olivier Messiaen and Anton Bruckner, were renowned organists, but the organ itself is one of the most interesting instruments of all music history. Much older than most realize, the earliest organs were water organs, developed in ancient Greece, which used water flowing from its natural source to push air through pipes. For centuries, the organ was arguably mankind's most complex feat of engineering, more complex than any other technology of its time, requiring control levers, keys, forced air systems, and flow control. The pipes of varying composition are able to imitate different sections of the orchestra, from wind to brass and even string instruments. In the Renaissance and Baroque periods, the organist would often fill in for instruments that were lacking in their orchestras, especially as the standard orchestra that we know of today was just beginning to be formed. The organist would perform the organ part, then pull levers to activate pipes, imitating missing instruments, covering their missing parts, or another row of keys. To give you all a taste of the capability of the instrument and its complexity, here is an excerpt from Bruckner's 7th Symphony, transcribed from organ and performed by David Briggs at St. John's the Divine in New York. Anton Bruckner hails from Austria, where music was part of the school curriculum in his school, where his father was a schoolmaster, as was his grandfather before him. Bruckner had the opportunity to study the organ at an early age, sometimes practicing for 10 hours a day. Something one can't blame him for, as to a child of 10, an organ that can make the room shake makes practice a little bit more fun. Bruckner was notorious in his later years for seeking a plethora of advice from his colleagues and publishers. His music was so revised that much of it took historians and librarians decades to make sense of, with all the additions that existed. Bruckner's 4th Symphony is the building of a cathedral and a concert hall. At times, the symphony is distinctly orchestral, with lines characteristic of string, wind, and brass instruments. Other times, the sound created is almost indistinguishable from that of the organ. The symphony, in 4 movements, which closes our program tonight, features 2 grand movements as the bookends to the slow and delicate inner movements. Olivier Messiaen was a French composer with a storied life. On the cutting edge of 20th century music, he pushed the boundaries of what symphonic music could be, masterfully innovating with color and rhythm. At the beginning of the Second World War, Messiaen was drafted into the French army. He was captured at Verdun and taken to a prison camp, where he met a small number of musicians as captives. There he wrote Quartet for the End of Time, which became one of his best-known works. We begin tonight's program with Messiaen's Forgotten Offerings, which was actually Messiaen's first symphonic work. The work is constructed in 3 parts, the first in tone clusters, where one can almost see the colors beginning to form before your eyes. The second, a chaotic and horrifying rhythmic structure, and the last, an ethereal evaporation into the upper strings. In his own words, Messiaen shares the inspiration to these parts. The first is the cross, lamentation of the strings, the sorrowful neumes which divide the melody into groups of uneven duration, cut by long mauve and gray wailings. The second is the sin, pretended here as a kind of race to the abyss, in almost mechanized speed. You'll notice the strong flexion, ending accents, whistling of harmonics and glissando, and the incisive calls of the trumpets. And the last is the Eucharist, long and slow phrases of the violins, which rise over a blanket of pianissimo chords with reds, golds, blues, like a faraway stained glass window in the light of muted solo chords. The sin is the forgetting of God. The cross and the Eucharist are the divine offerings. This is my body given for you. This is my blood spilled for you. Words from Messiaen himself about his work. Thank you for joining us for this special concert. We look forward to celebrating beauty together with you.